Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Vault 21 House Gambit. For 1 colorless and 1 red, it's an enchantment saga with 3 chapters. The first 2 say discard a card, then draw a card, and the third one says reveal up to 5 non-land cards from your hand. For each of those cards that has the same mana value as another card revealed this way, create a treasure token. So I've been watching all these spoilers for Fallout with growing excitement, even though I've never really played the Fallout games, but they just seem pretty cool in their themes and their kind of mechanics. And this one kind of attracts me more than most of the ones I've seen, because it's obviously a reference to casinos, blackjack, and poker, which I think is really cool. And let me explain why I think it's so flavorful. The first 2 chapters can kind of represent asking the house to hit you during a game of blackjack, or simply getting your cards as the Texas Hold'em poker game progresses, which is very interesting. But obviously the third mode is the coolest one, and it's interesting to me that the best way to get the optimum outcome, which is obviously to get 5 treasures, is by having a poker hand. Basically 3 of one and 2 of the other. That's a really cool little touch. There are other ways to achieve 5 treasures, but that is by far the simplest one. But to analyze how good this card is, we've got to see what we're getting for our mana. So this reminds me a bit as a point of comparison to something like Big Score or Unexpected Windfall. Those cost 4 mana straight up, so in that sense this is a lot cheaper, but it is much delayed compared to those 2. You're also guaranteed to get 2 cards, only discarding 1 with those, and 2 treasures, which you are not necessarily guaranteed to get here. So that is a bit of a difference right there, but I do think that getting to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards over 2 turns can be quite good for just 2 mana, particularly if you have any sort of synergy with the graveyard or with discarding, which a lot of red decks currently do. The final ability is where it's really difficult to evaluate, because while it is very easy to get 2 treasures, it's much more difficult to get 3 or 4 or even 5. It has to be non-land cards, which I think is fair enough, because even though it's very unlikely that you have 5 lands in your hand, it's still a lot easier because there is only 1 mana value for lands. So getting 2 treasures, which would make this very similar to Unexpected Windfall, is fairly easy. You just need 2 cards that have the same mana value. Getting 3 requires you to have 3 cards with exactly the same mana value, and then it starts getting a bit more complicated when it's 4, because you can either have 2 or 2, or you can have 4 that are all the same, which is a bit more flexible. And then with 5, again, you can have 5 that are all the same, or 2 and 3. So to me, it seems that it's going to be fairly easy to get 2 to 3 treasures with this. On average, you're probably going to get something like 3, but getting 4 and 5 is going to be quite unusual. That puts this in a fairly similar place to Unexpected Windfall, just a little bit slower and with slightly less card advantage. Still, I think that's a pretty good place to be for only 5 mana. There is one more thing that we do need to consider though, and that is that you are giving up some information by using the third mode on this card. You're gonna potentially let your opponents know 5 cards in your hand, which is definitely a downside. So I think this is gonna see more play in decks that are going to be fairly proactive and not that reactive, seeing as you don't really want your opponents to know what kind of potential answers you've got to things that they might come up with. But if you're playing a fast deck that's going to dump their hand fairly quickly, which is where I think this is going to be best, then this becomes quite good, because who cares if they know what you've got in your hand if you're just going to immediately play it with all those treasures you've just made. Honestly, it provides a lot of interesting decision making and interesting gameplay options, and I really think it's quite clever for a 2 mana enchantment. And obviously if you have any sort of treasure synergy, this becomes even better, because if you have any way to double tokens or get triggers from those treasures, then this just shoots up in value, since you can potentially get 5 treasures off of a 2 mana investment. So I look forward to putting this in a bunch of different decks, because to me it seems like a really fun minigame card and I love those kind of effects. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel, and until next time, take care.